Today I'm going to make the video about one of the most OP skill gem interactions I've ever seen in PoE history that I've personally found. And this is actually something that a lot of builds do utilize. There's a build called Ericali's Fang that uses a Squire that actually uses this exact same thing. So we go on PoE Ninja and we check out Ericali's Fang, right? So this is a spider build. It's actually one of the best simulacrum farmers out there, and it is actually just crazy. So what they do is they use Awakened Melee Splash. Well, this guy has no idea what he's doing, right? So let's go look for someone who's maybe a little more up to date with the tech, right? Perhaps this person. Well, this person has two, so let's go put in the Squire. Man, 60% of the people using Ericali's Fang actually have the Squire. So does this person? Yep, see, this person knows what's up. Divergent Melee Splash. So this is actually a tech that's been used by this build for a little bit. So this person has Divergent Melee Splash. So let's see. Does this say the support gem links? Basically, what Divergent Melee Splash ends up doing is that it removes the less damage multiplier for Melee Splash, allowing you to do a lot more damage. So it removes it so that it essentially does double damage if you end up hitting two targets at a time. So I'm going to go over how you can use this to make Frost Blaze actually one of the best skills in Simulacrum. And I was only able to find this out thanks to the person who made this new Flicker sword that's on Reddit right now. And this sword is actually pretty insane. I did showcase it yesterday, but he finally posted it. And in this thing, we were able to find out in my stream while I was doing it that Divergent Melee Splash with 8% quality from the Squire makes it 15% more damage. So this sword is what I tried out yesterday. It has socketed movement skills, costs no mana. And whether this sword is worth using or not is kind of a question whether you value how much you value this extra convenience of having no mana. I do believe there are ways to solve the mana issue with Divergent Inspiration and other things, but it is very nice having to play with no mana, but you do end up losing around 167% multi by not using this version of the sword, and you also kind of lock yourself into playing like Flicker Strike or Cyclone because you don't have an actual 12 link because it's now 11 link. But anyhow, I do feel like a little bit of a broken record because every day I feel like I'm flip-flopping back and forth between Lightning Strike, Frost Blaze, Wall Strike. And at this point in time, I do have to give my support to Frost Blaze at around like 180 million DPS with Divergent Melee Splash. I think it is the better skill for clearing Simulacrum, and it's actually the best out of Flicker at this damage level. You can see here, I'm finally at 44% XP. So that's like the fun part of this league for me is trying to find ways to do Simulacrum, trying to do it deathless. And at this point in time, I do believe that I can get to level 100 in Simulacrums from 98 to 100. And I do believe that showcases that your build is pretty well rounded, or in this case, maybe it's super high damage so that Kostas can't really do anything. But yeah, let's get straight into this tech. So let's start off by looking at the gem Melee Splash Support. So Melee Splash Support supports melee strike skills, causing their melee strike to deal slash damage around each target hit. So right off the bat, you can see that this thing synergizes very well with multiple strikes. So having strike 2 additional enemies, you can pretty much triple your damage, right? If there's two mobs around you can actually get up to 300 or like 240% more damage if there's two mobs around the main mob because it will splash onto the other mobs. And the reason being is that Melee Splash makes it so that supported skills deal 41 to 50% less damage to the surrounding target. So it'll do this little AoE splash around the target, and then as it levels up, it does 57% more Melee Splash area of effect. So that's pretty big. Now, the regular quality of this gem is supported skills have 0 to 10% increased area of effect. Now, the alternate quality is there's one called Anomalous that does supported skills deal 20% increased melee damage. However, the Divergent version says supported skills deal negative 40 to 0% less damage to surrounding targets. So this is actually the main important part of this because it makes it so that if you hit two targets, you essentially double your damage because you do a splash damage that's equal to your melee hit. that you just did. Now, the nice part about this gem is that you can get it to be 23 quality, and it ends up being 5% more damage, so you end up doing 105% more damage. Now, if you put it in the Squire, which is plus 8% the quality of Sakura's support gems, it actually becomes 21% more damage to surrounding targets. So when you hit something, the splash damage will actually do more damage than your actual melee hit, which is just completely absurd. And this actually helps out your clear a little bit too. So you might be thinking, oh, how much is this gem? Should it be really, really expensive? Well, let's go check it out. Because there's actually a way to get this gem a lot cheaper. So Divergent Melee Splash will probably be pretty expensive because people will realize how good it is. In fact, it's already being used by one of the more popular builds, which is Arakaali's Fang. So you can see here a 1-1 Divergent Melee Splash is 5.4 exalts. So right now I'm going to go over a money making method that a lot of people kind of overlook. So if you could try to buy anomalous melee splash and use a secondary regrading lens, then you could potentially be able to get it a lot cheaper. So this is actually a money making method that not too many people take advantage of, but if just a few people do it, it kind of becomes obsolete. But I'm just going to showcase it right here real fast. So anomalous melee splash is 9 chaos. Oh, that guy must be price fixing, right? That's a price fixer right there. Kind of sad to see, but so it's around 80 chaos. So secondary regrading lens is the one that we want now. So this thing changes the what's it called, the alternate quality. So you can see here, change the type of quality. So it's around 1.4x. Seems at 1.7x. So is there any money to be made here? Very little, if I had to say, because you can say that. So if you get an anomalous melee splash, which is around 80 chaos, and then you have to buy the secondary regrading lens to do this, which was what, 247 plus 80, 320. So it's like 2.2x per, and then you have a 1 out of 2 chance to hit it. So yeah, you can make a little bit of profit doing this, right? Because the other Divergent anomalous melee splash is only like 0.6x, so you use 2.3x, and the Divergent Melee Splash is ending up selling for 5.4x. So this is actually guaranteed money making method if you wanted to do it. 5.4, 5.5, maybe even 6 exalts if you level it up. So all you have to do is you buy up the anomalous melee splashes. Now I'm doing this because I know a lot of people will go out and buy this gem, and I don't want everyone to get scammed when you can actually make this gem pretty easily. So the way the secondary regrading lens works is that if you have an anomalous gem, you can't actually re-roll it into anomalous again. It has to be divergent or superior. And because these are 50 weight and 50 weight, it's a 1 out of 2 chance to get it. Now say you wanted to do it with the regular melee splash, your chances become a lot worse because the regular melee splash can be anomalous or divergent, meaning that it is a 50 out of 150 chance, which is a 1 out of 3 chance, and that makes it a lot worse. Theoretically, it would still be profitable if you just buy melee splashes and buy the regrading lens as its 5.1x value. If you put it at that the melee splash is worth nothing because you can get it from the vendor. So regardless, you can get it a lot cheaper with a secondary regrading lens, but it is gambling in the end a little bit. Now, in terms of the best quality will always be 23 quality. The 20%, 20 to 21 doesn't make too big of a difference. And that is the main thing to look for. I think it's actually very expensive though. There's actually a 2123 gem for like 55x, which is absurd. So now the way you benefit from this is you think, oh, I'm just attacking the target normally, right? I'm not getting any splash. In order to proc the splash, you have to have a +1 strike somewhere. So you can either get it on the tree here, or you can get it on your gloves with +1, +2. And if you attack the mob, you can't splash with your attack, right? So you have to, what's it called, put down a Hydra Spear. So when you have +1 strike, you will hit the boss with your melee attack, and you'll hit the spear with the melee attack, and this creates a splash. And the splash from the Hydra Spear can hit the boss too. But if you hit the boss with just your melee attack, the splash cannot hit the boss because it's considered the same attack or something. So if you put down a Hydra Spear, you will do 200. You have to do double damage, and sometimes even more if you have the Squire or you have 23 quality. And this just ends up being absolutely huge. I will showcase some simulacrum clips, and you will see that Kosis And Omniphobia gets deleted faster than any build I've seen do it this league. Even like the Armor Aura stacker is very close. And that's because the damage is probably around 300 million DPS if there's 2 mobs. So a lot of times when you do Kosis and Omniphobia, there might be a lot of mobs surrounding them. And this is when if you have 2 additional nearby enemies, you'll do like 240% more damage. And if you had 3 enemies and you actually took this node right here, strikes 1 additional enemy, you could be doing like quadruple damage almost, right? So you have to hit, and then you have 3 splashes. Yeah, so you'll be doing absolutely insane amounts of damage with this tech. Now you might be wondering, how can I use this if I don't have the Squire? So even without the Squire, if you think about it, like this link itself is better than any damage link. Even a 30 to 40% more damage multiplier will greatly lose out to 120% more multiplier, 105% more multiplier. And that's pretty much where Frostblade struggles anyhow, is always on bosses, right? So bosses anyhow, you want to be dropping the Hydra Spear down. So this is pretty much just something that you'll already be doing if you're doing Frostblades. And you will probably just drop Awaken at a lightning damage if you had the Una Toll Amulet, or you'll probably just go on half of building and pretty much go through the list, see what your gem link is the least value. It might be inspiration, it might be an added damage type, but you just need to figure it out for yourself, and you want to find out a way to put Divergent Melee Splash in. You could also potentially gem swap this on bosses if you have a red link, say you have inspiration or elemental damage with attacks, because it's just that much more damage. So I do feel like this actually completely changes the game for strike skills. You could even troll it even more. You can have a Vault Breach, and the Vault Breach is a gem that you can save for like Conquerors or something, or you can even do it on boss fights. So what it does is spawns a breach with a bunch of mobs. So the mobs will have so there'll be a bunch of mobs on top of the boss. And if you have like +2 strikes or +3 strikes even, you will probably just instantly one-shot the boss, because this thing actually just decimates Kosis. So this is a very, very interesting way and good way to double your damage or do a lot more damage to single target. And this doesn't apply to just Frostblades too. You could theoretically do this with Lightning Strike. You can put down a Hydra Spear with Lightning Strike and it will splash the melee hit. And it would be even more damage than Frostblades. At this point, I do think that this interaction is kind of overpowered, especially with the Squire. I don't know how long it will survive for. I'm actually not sure why this alternate quality is so strong. Usually alternate qualities do not remove a 40% less damage multiplier completely, but it is what it is. Take advantage of it, and hopefully it helps you figure out your single target, and I do think it is a great help. But let me showcase some simulacrum clips real fast with this tech, and you can see why Frostblades is my favorite skill now. 40x at the moment, especially now that someone's actually trying to craft something. Fall nodes are kind of easier. And you don't really need any nodes though, that's the thing with the build. The large clusters are so insane. Oh, unless you're doing like a different version, I guess. Oh wait, shit, I have to pay attention here. Life is happy, but it's so insane. We must merely make a shine. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah. I mean, that was 40% more monster life. 70% cold res, and the thing died like a white mob, right? Like, it doesn't even get much worse than this for the build. I guess I have not tried it because it's not like that useful in here, but it could be useful.
My mana is gone.
Light gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for
oh my god.
the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Kids across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
More damage, yeah. Overall, I really enjoy Simulacrum. It is kind of fun trying to find ways to optimize your build, and Simulacrum is one of those things that it really showcases and tells you how good or bad your build is. First of all, if you have like, oh, how often am I dying? Is my build actually pretty tanky? Does it have good recovery? Does it have good defenses? And it also tells you how well clearing is your build. Does your build have a lot of coverage? Does your build have a lot of move speed? Because you need to be able to clear the whole arena, right, to get the max amount of rewards. And the best way to actually clear Simulacrum is to just stand still in the middle and let the mobs respawn constantly. So how many mobs you can clear is pretty much a function of how good your clear speed is while standing still. So if you have a lot of prod speed and chain and stuff like that, then you'll get a lot more waves. That's why Spark is notoriously so good back in the day, because you can literally stand in the middle, cast Spark, and fill up the entire arena. And Frost Blades is the same reason, like why it's so much better than the other skills, is because you can actually just stand there in the middle and your projectiles will fly everywhere and kill everything. The Simulacrum is a really good test. And next you have your single target, and Kostas has around 300 million HP with no mods on, so you can potentially be facing a mob with like 1 billion EHP. So that's pretty much how you can test out your damage. And it also ends up being one of the most profitable things to do at the moment in terms of like money making. It's around like 8 to 10x per hour. And you can also level up gems that brings it up to 11 to 12x. So overall, it is my favorite type of content, but I will try out a different build once I hit 100. And if I hit 100, it is a big if. You never know. You could have one bad wave and die 3 times and lose a day's worth of progress. So I do enjoy that aspect. It's kind of like a semi-hardcore at the moment, but hopefully this tech helps out everyone and you end up doing a lot more damage and it turns Frost Blades into the best ability. Because if you let anyone try out Frost Blades versus Lightning Strike with equal damage, 10 out of 10 people would choose Frost Blades, I guarantee it. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods than me, and see you next time. Bye.